Good morning, class 7. Today your chapter is, I am starting with class chapter 6, metals and non-metals. It is believed there are 118 elements can be classified as metals and non-metals, noble gases, metalloids on the basis of their common and physical chemical changes. Metals and non-metals, most known elements are metals like gold, copper, silver, and it is known that copper was probably the first metal to be discovered by men during the early age. They made utensils and weapons in ancient times. Non-metals are the metals that have few in numbers like hydrogen, fluorine, bromine, chlorine, iodine, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, sulfur and phosphorus. Now what are the occurrence of these metals in the nature? Atom, which is the most of the metals, tend to form positive ions by losing electrons. Therefore, they are reactive and exist in nature as compound called minerals. As they lose electrons, so they change into compound, they stay in the nature as compound called minerals like potassium, sodium, magnesium, aluminum. They are highly reactive and they exist in the nature as minerals. Metals like mercury, silver and copper are less reactive, so they are found both as compound as well as free state in the nature. Platinum are non-reactive and exist in nature mostly in free state. And these two metals are known as noble metals. The crust of the earth is made up of aluminium 8.1% and oxygen metal 46.6% and less abundant non-metals on the earth crust. Sodium is the most abundant metal found in the seawater, though in small amount of magnesium, calcium, potassium are also found. In your book there is a chart from where you can understand what are the metals and non-metals that are found in the earth's crust and how they work. Now, properties of metals and non-metals. Properties, their luster. Luster means how much they do shine or react. Ductility, that means the ability to stretch the metal. Malleability means if it is bitten, sheet can be made out of it, and how much conduction of heat can it take. Electrical condition, that means how much current can pass through this metal, and how much ringing sound, that is known as sonority, is checked in this metal. And lastly, what type of body does it have, like solid, liquid or gaseous form. Metals, those are lustrous. They are like lustrous, except lead, which is not lustrous, that means which does not shine. They are ductile also, while non-metals, they are not lustrous and they do not shine except graphite and iodine, and they are except carbon, others are not ductile, that means we cannot stretch and make string out of it except carbon, and they are not even malleable, they cannot be made sheet out of it, whereas metals can be made sheet out of it, like gold, silver, sheets are made. Metals are good conductors of heat and non-metals are poor conductors of heat. You will there is a difference in your book that you will learn from there, because the points are very important. metals are good conductors except one metal, that is tungsten, and non-metals are poor conductor of electricity except graphite because it is a form of carbon. They are non-sonorous non-metals, whereas metals do make sounds. Metals are solid except mercury. Mercury comes in liquid form. You can see mercury at your home also. In the thermometer there is mercury. And non-metals, it can be solid as well as liquid or gas. Like hydrogen is gas, whereas carbon sulfur is solid. Now, what is the melting and boiling point of metal? Temperature, boiling point. Have high boiling points like sodium, potassium, mercury and gallium. They don't have high boiling point. They just melt in a low at a low boiling point. Except diamond, graphite, both forms are carbon. They are form of carbon. You know that diamond is a carbonic. When coal is being cut out, carbon is found from that in there, so it is a carbon. The density, they have heavy density, while the metals have low density. Some of the metals, not some of the metals have good strength, while non-metals do not have that much of strength, except carbon fiber. And in zinc do not have good strength in metal. Lastly, hardness. If it is difficult to cut, that means except sodium and potassium, other metals cannot be cut down easily, whereas except diamond, and which is the hardest metal of the natural substance, others non-metals are easily able to be cut. Now, metals and non-metals differ greatly in their chemical properties also. The composition of chemical properties in metal or non-metals are like the valency of electrons. Valency of electrons in the metals is from 1 to 3, where in non-metals it is 6, 4, 7, except in hydrogen. Hydrogen and helium, they have 1 and 2. The formation of ion mostly positively charged, and where that is cation, and where non-metals are anion, which is negatively charged. Nature of the oxide, compound formed when oxygen now nature of metals, they are mostly basic, producing OH negative ion in water, where non-metals are acidic, producing H plus ions in water or neutral. Atomicity, number of atoms in the molecule. Metals are monoatic, whereas non-metals are diatomic, triatomic, polyatomic, except the noble gases. Those are monoatomic. The metals, the position of the metals in the periodic table are fixed, both metals and non-metals. Corrosion of metal. Corrosion of the metals. Damages in metals may occur due to chemical actions, and those are known as corrosions. Corrosions is also known as slow oxidization. That is, example will be rusting, where iron come in contact with oxygen, they become red, and the metal starts to get rusted, and when it is rusted, powder is formed, and it means the metal is losing its property. When iron comes in contact with atmosphere, oxygen and moisture, and over a period of time, a reddish iron brown layer of hydrate or ferric oxide occurs, and the process is known as rusting. Copper, when exposed to the atmosphere, slowly forms green green on basis copper carbonate called patina is formed. It can be seen deposited in copper. If you have seen copper utensils in your houses, for puja they use copper utensils, and if you see that is something golden in color, and if in it water particles are left, the next day or after a few hours you can see that portion turns green or black, brown, whatever color. The color of the metal is not that much glazy, or does not shine. So this shows that there is corrosion. Next is aluminium. It is reactive, produces aluminum oxide when exposed to the atmosphere. The coating of oxide prevents further corrosion of aluminium under the surface. Even silver metal tarnished due to the series of chemical reaction with the atmosphere. That's why in many places silver is used, or may not many places. It will be better. In earlier days, silver were used to test whether the food of the king or the queen is poisoned or not, because reaction occurs in it and the poison changed the color of the spoon. That's why the spoon or whatever they used, it was of silver color. That's why the food was served on a silver plate or silver utensils. It reacts slowly with the atmosphere polluting gases to produce silver sulfate, which makes the silver turn blackish. That's why if you are wearing silver chain, you can see there also reaction occurs, and sometimes it turns black in color. Silver jewelry and utensils lose its brightness due to the form of corrosion. Lead also shows corrosion due to formation of dull white lead carbonate on long exposure to atmosphere. Noble metals like gold, platinum, rhodium, palladium do not generally corrode. Okay, this much I am leaving. Thank you.